Hi again, Bob here, and today I wanted to talk to you about drip irrigation. Um, Drip irrigation is something that we use to make our baskets. You see here we have our drippers. The drippers go in the baskets. We raise several thousand baskets and we use drip irrigation. And one of the things I found out about drip irrigation is that I can do so much more work quicker, and ironically so, the plants get a lot bigger. They might get twice as big with drip irrigation, and I can do my watering probably 5 times faster. So what happened is, at home I'm experimenting with plants on my deck several years ago, and I've got to where I had 20 baskets on my deck, 20 hanging baskets, and I had to figure out a way to grow these new plants and experiment with them, but I didn't have a tool. I was filling a sprinkle can, I was dragging it back and forth, and it gets monotonous, and quite frankly we don't have time for that. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you some of the secrets of drip irrigation. And one of the first things you should know about drip irrigation is, because the plant has its irrigation is not, the drip is not disturbing the plant never stops growing. Let me give you an example on these geraniums right here. These geraniums we water by hand with a hose, and when I'm watering them I'm disturbing the leaves, and it really doesn't bother them. But if I end up watering these plants like this, that little bit of water, I stop them growing for at least 3 or 4 hours. Well, if you think about you're watering your plants 3 or 4 or 5 times a week, and you add on times 4 hours, that's 20 hours of growth. So what ends up happening is, not only is irrigating your patio, your deck, or your flower bed a lot faster, better use of your time, your plants, I would say, are going to get twice as big. So what I've got today is I've got some tools that we use to assemble these drip systems. Because what I have done is I've adapted a home drip system for you at home. The first thing I have here is little red drippers. And the little red drippers are the vehicle that communicates the water right into the plant. The red ones are a half a gallon an hour. The green ones are a gallon per hour. So what that means to you is, if you have small pots, you would choose a red dripper. You got larger pots, you'd use a green dripper. If you have really big pots, maybe you cluster 3 green drippers to compensate. Because this system is very simple. I've got a punch, and the punch is what makes a hole into the 1/2 inch drip line. Now, it's very simple. You decide where you want that hole to be, and it simply snaps right in. If you make a mistake and you put a hole in here, and oh, I didn't want it there, you've got what's known as a goof plug, and the goof plug fixes your mistake. If you're in a real windy area, we've got a couple methods for hold down. This is a spike, and this is a weighted dripper that, if it's very windy, I could simply put the weight on there and it keeps the water dripping. Or I can use a spike. Here's a spike. So I know so far we've talked about this thing, but how complicated is it, and how expensive? I'm sure you're asking. It's not complicated at all. I've pre-assembled it. Let me show you. What I've done is made it so that you don't have to think too hard. I'm not really a plumber, but this is so easy that when you're working outside, if you have a connection that leaks a little bit and it's a drip, because you're only turning this on for 15 minutes, you're not going to lose a lot of water, and it's not going to cost you a lot of money, or are you going to damage anything in your house. So simply you take a hose. I've got what's called a quick connect, and this comes assembled for you. You snap this on, and here I'm going to turn the water on right here. So as I turn the water on, the water is going to get dispersed and drip right into the plants, right where it needs it, right in the root zone. And I know the younger the plants are, I might only drip it for 5 minutes. If it's a really hot day, I might drip it for 20 minutes. But it ends up being that you can play with it, whether it's laying on your pots on your deck, you can lay it on top, you can lay it alongside and hide it, you can hang it. There's not a lot of rules, and it becomes a lot more enjoyable having all these things on your deck or your patio. I call my deck my living area, where I like to sit, and I'm surrounded by these plants. Hummingbirds are feeding on the plants. It ends up being a really enjoyable experience, especially for somebody like me that does it every day for a long time, that I can still enjoy plants on a personal level. So when I go to shut my water off, all I have to do is turn the spigot off, and it's ready to go. This is the same technology we're using on the baskets. Now this is stuff that we just planted. I also like this concept that I like to go on vacation in summer, and of course I've got all these gorgeous plants, and now what to do with these plants. And with this system, I leave it hooked up, and I literally have a second grader that lives next door, and he can tell time, and he turns it on for 15 minutes, and after 15 minutes shuts it off. And that way he doesn't have to think what needs water, what doesn't need water. It's all set up for him. What you do have to do in order to make these plants all that they could be is you do have to feed them now and then. I made my system, my drip system, very simple, that it's just for watering. What I do at my house is I decide that, for instance, Wednesdays and Saturdays are feed day, and I might water my plants with my drip system, but then I'll take a 2-gallon bucket, and everybody gets a little bit of feed on Wednesday and a little bit of feed on Saturday, depending on the weather. And that's been a really simple solution to managing a lot of plants. We can also adapt this to your flower bed. If you wanted to lay this in your flower bed and put a few drippers, a lot of drippers, this gets more, that gets less, that works really well too. It's been really successful to us in front of our place, our garden center, that we can water a bunch of plants without having to commit a person to watering them. Just simply turn it on. We sell this whole entire kit, which would you get 100 feet all assembled. All you have to do is decide where you want your drippers, and you got your do-it-yourself punch that you punch it and snap the dripper where you want it. Simply attach the tube and you're off and running. I hope this helps you with your gardening and your watering, because I know that's a big chore. And if you can make it easy, it makes gardening and growing plants so much more fun.